All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday to everybody. October 13th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Monday morning. Cheers to you, whatever you're drinking on this morning. Coffee number 2 for me. So I'm all in right now. I'm all in. I'm on cup number 2. Sleeves are rolled up. Did a little post-game show action last night. We got a busy week lined up this week. They got 4 Laker games between yesterday and Friday, and then a week from tomorrow, about to start the regular season. So Lakers will start the regular season against the Golden State Warriors. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you guys being here, and looking forward to doing the show today. Got a number of topics that I'm going to get into, so we'll get into that in just a second. If you have any comments that you want to throw in, any topics that you want to hit on, feel free to throw them in the comments, and I'll get through the comments as we get the show going. All right, let's start things off here. Let's give everyone just a quick idea what we got for a rundown in today's show, and then we can go from there. Spend a little time, obviously, talking about yesterday's preseason game. A couple things I walk away with from yesterday's preseason game. To be honest with you, a couple highlights for me. I thought Ayton Knecht was decent. I thought DeAndre Ayton was decent. Got a few things that we could hit on for preseason game number 3. That was last night against the Warriors. And then also something to keep in mind. 2 of the next 3 Laker games, their preseason games, we're actually going to get Luka, and we're going to get Marcus Smart as well. So that's obviously exciting to get those guys back. Something to keep in mind in that. So we'll talk a little bit of yesterday's game, a little bit of preseason. We do have an update on LeBron injury. I saw this yesterday as well. I saw Shams Charania put something out there in regards to how long LeBron's been dealing with the injury. I feel like maybe I'm wrong here, but they say he'll be reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks. So something to keep in mind there. That doesn't really give us much of a timetable. There was a good conversation I was having with Anthony Irwin on Friday, who joined the show, part of Clutch Points, also does a podcast himself. Really actually enjoyed my time with him. First time I've ever had him on the podcast. I enjoyed our conversation. But him and I were talking, and we're talking a little bit about timetables for the Lakers. How patient will the Lakers be? There's a few things that I want to hit on in regards to that we'll get into. ESPN laid out an article, I think it was on Friday. Dave McMenamin put out an article. Most likely LeBron scenarios to play out. And he had 4 different scenarios out there. We're kind of rank these here from scenarios that we think are most likely to least likely. And then I'll ask, a lot of you guys here in the chat, what do you guys want to see with LeBron's future? So we'll spend some time on that. There was a trio ranking. I actually didn't know this. LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, where they rank with other trios in the NBA, not very high. I got to be honest with you. It was a lot further down than I thought. Got a couple things on NBA news. We'll do a weekend recap. Of course, 2 Major League Baseball games on tonight, 2 Monday Night Football games on tonight. So we'll hit a little bit of everything. Let me take a look at some of the comments here to get the show started, and we will go. We'll go from there. Let's see what we got here. Great win, even though Steph, Jimmy, Moody, Horford. I know. Nobody's playing, and that's why I'm not telling everybody here don't watch any preseason games. But when you watch a preseason game, pump the brakes a little bit, right? There's only so much that you could take away from these games. Yes, Lakers did win yesterday. And yes, Marcus Smart, Luka, and LeBron aren't playing, but who did the Warriors really have out there as well? But I do think for the Lakers, there's some things that I was listening to Ayton in the postgame show yesterday. He was saying about practices and things along those lines. Sounds like they're definitely making their progress where they need to. Quick quote here I'll throw out here. Ocean Breeze does this all the time. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. Solid. Good stuff right there. Okay. Let's get the show started. Just to give everyone a quick idea as well. So we're back Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Definitely excited to have NBA basketball back, Lakers basketball back. We'll continue to react right after the games. If you have not been on the channel in a while, or maybe you come on the channel and you're not subscribed yet, if you can please subscribe to the channel, I greatly appreciate that as well. So appreciate you guys all hanging out. Let's get the show started. and get going with some of our topics here. Okay, quick recap. Last night's preseason. I won't spend too much time on this, but we'll give a little bit of a recap. I did do a post-game show last night. Thank you to everybody that tuned into that show. I know, it's kind of how I started the channel, is a lot of these post-game shows. So a couple thousand views already from last night's post-game show, a preseason game. You can go back if you guys want more details of last night's preseason game, plus some of the interviews from JJ Redick, Ayton, Dalton Knecht. Who else talked yet? I think Reeves I played as well. You can go back and look at that. Couple things I took away from last night's game. And is it preseason? It is. Has Luka not played a game yet? That is correct. I thought Ayton had a nice game last night. I thought Ayton, in every single preseason game so far for the Lakers, is sort of inching his way a little bit more towards who he probably is. And we're not going to see the best version of DeAndre Ayton until Luka's out there, till LeBron's out there, till Marcus Smart's out there, until this team is whole. But I think early on, especially after game one in the preseason, I think, you instantly started seeing, all right, well, where's his head at? Where's his mentality at? This is somebody that was bought out. We all know was bought out by the Portland Trailblazers. They paid, I think it was around, I can't remember the number right off the top of my head, 25 million, something like that, just to buy him out, just to say, hey, don't come to work. We're going to give you millions of dollars to stay away from our young players. His perception around the NBA, it's not the best. I don't think, every time I hear somebody talk about him, hey, what was wrong with Ayton in these last couple of years, this, that, how motivated was he? Those are not good words that you typically want to associate with a player. So for DeAndre Ayton, this is kind of a fresh new start for him with the Lakers. And at least for me, what I've noticed, aside from what he does on the basketball floor, I've noticed mentally where he's at, the things that he says, it seems like he's in the right frame of mind. He wants to be a player that's trying to establish the Lakers defense. He's a player that wants to let me be the anchor on the defensive side. He also has got a really great skill set. There's a reason why he was a number one draft pick. He is a big in this league that, has got at least the potential here with the Lakers of having a real impact. I've noticed that every game so far, he's looking like he's a little bit more comfortable. Yesterday's game, Ayton for the Lakers, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 8 from the field, started the game for 5 for 5. I'm not telling you that he's going to become an all-star because he played well against a depleted Golden State Warriors team in preseason game number 3. But what I can tell you is slowly but surely he's starting to look a little bit more like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that Ayton when he was with the Phoenix Suns. I remember that Ayton when they made a finals run and DeAndre Ayton was the starting center for the Phoenix Suns. Some flashes, I think, so far in preseason that's positive. Some, for a team as well that's so desperate for a center that can contribute, it's important that DeAndre Ayton has a very, very good season for the Lakers. So solid game from him last night. I won't, go too crazy about it, but I did like his performance. The other player that I just want to point out real quick, and then we'll kind of get off this preseason game. We'll talk about what the Lakers have left with the 3 preseason games left. I'll read some of your comments as well. Dalton Knecht got 34 minutes last night. Do you know how much I respect JJ Redick for doing that? And let me kind of explain to you why. I've talked a little bit about, I've been critical on Dalton Knecht. I have. But a lot of it is just primarily based on his play. A lot of it is based on how he's doing so far as a Laker. A lot of it is also based on what his value around the league is. And we keep seeing, some different articles out there that value is actually declining. It's not going up. Why would it go up? So with all that being said, we kind of have a little bit of an eye on Dalton Knecht. And yesterday, if there's one way for a player to kind of gain some confidence, a player like Dalton Knecht, who I don't know how much he's going to have opportunities this upcoming season and how much he'll be able to crack the rotation. I'm genuinely not sure. But I will say this, for him to get 34 minutes last night, to have some positives go his way, put up 16 points, to be a player that I didn't think was just purely 100% dependent on the three-point line. I'll give you an example. He took 9 shots yesterday. 5 of them came from the three-point line. he wasn't just, well, I'm going to fire a three and that's all I got in my arsenal. He's got more than that. Got to the free throw line, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. I like that. I respect that. Showed a little bit of those flashes when he did early on last season when he was having just kind of a breakout start to his NBA season where he can get to the basket, he can draw some fouls, more than just a shooter. So I say all that because for a player like him, the only shot he has is gaining some confidence. JJ giving him 34 minutes last night, I think was his way of saying, you're probably not going to get 34 minutes of run again all season long. Get it now. Start gaining some of your confidence. We may call for you. There's going to be times where a player is injured or somebody's in foul trouble or we just need a spark off the bench. Can you be ready for us? And certainly for Knecht, I thought he did a good job yesterday. Those were the two things that kind of stood out to me from a player perspective. I won't get too detailed in the preseason game. It is preseason basketball, and I'm not going to pretend like we can take so many things away. But a progression for DeAndre Ayton, I like. Listening to DeAndre Ayton post-game, I like. And then I thought Dalton Knecht getting a chance. The team is really trying to pump him up. I think I heard somebody say yesterday post-game that J.J. Redick has said that Knecht's had the best camp. Is that 100% accurate, or are they really genuinely trying to just pump this guy up? We'll have to wait and see. But, of course, J.J. Redick trying to – a youngster like that, a shooter like that, he's got to have some confidence. So those were the two things that probably stood out to me the most in yesterday's preseason game. And really all the other storylines have nothing to do with yesterday's preseason game, like the DeAndre Ayton saying – he has not practiced like that in a long time. He's talking about how the practices are brutal right now, that they're playing very, very tough, that they're much tougher than a preseason game. So J.J. Redick certainly taking these practices, understands how limited of an opportunity Lakers are going to get roster-wise to be ready for the regular season, which starts 1 week from tomorrow. So some of these practices that he was talking about and how tough some of these practices are actually a little bit refreshing to hear that, because you know that a lot of these guys aren't going to get too many opportunities in preseason to be ready chemistry-wise for the regular season. Let me just kind of set up here real quick the final 3 preseason games for the Lakers and then or what to expect for the remainder of the week, and then I'll start looking at some of the comments. 3 preseason games left for the Lake Show. So that's it. Just 3 preseason games. All of them are coming this week. Tomorrow, they play the Phoenix Suns. Wednesday, they're in Vegas, taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Should be a fun game there. And then Friday, they'll close it out against the Sacramento Kings. And that's it. That's a wrap. Few days off. Regular season will start on October 22nd or October 21st. Whatever tomorrow, a week from tomorrow is. I think it's the 21st. That's when the regular season will start for the Lakers. The good news for the Lake Show, in these final 3 games, at least as of now, and maybe it changes, in these final 3 games, Luka and Marcus Smart will play in 2 of the final 3 preseason games. I don't know which ones. I don't know if the Lakers take the strategy since they have 2 in a row. Do they sit them out tomorrow? Let them play Wednesday because it's in Vegas and it's against the Dallas Mavericks. And then everybody plays on Friday, minus obviously LeBron. So they get one final tune-up game before the regular season. I don't know what that strategy is going to be, but I do know that Luka and Marcus Smart, it's being reported, are going to play in 2 of the final 3 games. And I think obviously just to get those guys back, it's going to be great to see what that looks like. What's the starting lineup that the Lakers are going to go with now that LeBron's going to be out for a little bit? All that's going to kind of play out in the final 3 preseason games. But 2 of the final 3 preseason games, you're going to get a chance to see Luka Doncic and Marcus Smart. So that's kind of my quick takeaway from preseason so far, and then specifically part of the game last night and what we got left here for the rest of the preseason. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. Warriors won't be Ayton won't be playing the Warriors every game. That sucks for him. I think you're talking about just their lack of size, and they didn't play anybody. Listen, I'm not here to try to pitch everybody that because he performed well in a preseason game. But there's little things that you can look at. Is he comfortable? How's his footwork? Where's he getting the ball? Is he effective when he has the ball, but he's watching other guys cut? I think he had 4 or 5 assists yesterday as well. Is he rebounding? How's his defense? So there's other things to look at other than just, obviously, how many points did he have or anything like that. All right, let me see another one. Preseason is a precursor to regular season now, especially with cap rules. Teams really need depth to be good, and preseason is where we see how deep the team is or is not. Yeah, I got a little bit difficult of a time trying to gauge the Lakers here. I do. I'm not going to pretend one way or the other because I have said that I'm a fan of what they did in the preseason. Oh, I'm sorry, in the offseason. A lot of flexibility, can still make a ton of trades if they need to, a lot of expiring contracts, clean money coming off the books, but also players that can help them this year. And it's a lot of this is just going to be a question of, are the players they brought in effective? Is LeBron available? How does Luka and AR look together? Is Rui taking another step in the right direction? I mean, there's a lot of questions. What's the rest of the West look like? How healthy is the rest of the Western Conference? So I don't think we could sit here with any answers. Let's get another one in here. I can't believe some people actually care about the results in preseason games. It's baffling. Preseason games have zero relevance to how anyone plays in the regular season. Partially true, partially not. I think a guy like Ayton Knecht needs some good regular season or preseason minutes that might help him in the regular season. I think, for example, Austin Reeves yesterday played 20-plus minutes, 21 minutes, had 21 points and was 7 of 10 from the field. But I already know what Austin Reeves is going to be. I think there's certain guys that need preseason play, certain teams that don't have any chemistry, and I'd put the Lakers in that category, mostly don't have that much chemistry. I'd put the Lakers in that category. I mean, look at all the different players Lakers are going to have this year that weren't there last season. If you're talking about a team that's bringing everybody back, then the regular season or the preseason really doesn't mean anything. I think for the Lakers, there is some meaning for it. But wins and losses means nothing. You're right. Wins and losses mean nothing. That part I agree with. Ayton has great touch on the middle, on the middies. He looked good last night. He does have good touch. By the way, that's a kind of a unique trait with big men. Unfortunately, a lot of big men in today's NBA, most of them, not most of them, but there's a lot of guys that are just athletes. Where when we grew up, at least for those that are around my age, we grew up with bigs that actually played the game of basketball. They can face the basket. They can go back to the basket. They can hit a 15-footer. They can use the glass for a bucket, a jumper, however you want to call it. Unfortunately, that's not exactly always the case anymore. Ayton was solid. You can tell it's preseason. Ayton was solid last night. Another one. Okay. So everybody's kind of giving their opinion here on some preseason basketball and the Lakers. So we'll go from there. I'd save Luka. I'd save the Luka Mavs return regular season, in my opinion. By the way, maybe they'll do that. Maybe Luka plays tomorrow and he plays again on Friday, and then they're like, all right, that's it. Who cares about this game against Dallas? I don't know. I mean, part of me thinks because the game's also in Vegas, part of me thinks they'll play some of these guys, put a little bit of a show on, and then that's it. But if he's only playing 2 of the last 3, that means he would play Wednesday and Friday. I don't think he's going to be playing in back-to-back games. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Okay, let's keep things moving here. Went a little bit longer on the preseason. I didn't think I was going to go that long. I saw this. Let me just kind of get this out of the way here because I think this is important to talk about real quick. Let me read this. At least I didn't get a chance to see this, or this came out. Actually, this came out. It was after my show on Friday, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it. So it was a few days ago, but I still think it's very, very relevant. Let me read this quote here from Shams in regards to LeBron and what exactly took place. This injury for LeBron, this nerve issue, first occurred in late July, early August, during an on-court workout. It's now 2.5 months and counting that he's had to deal with it and manage it. Even before the Lakers media day on September 29th and the start of training camp, I'm told LeBron James had not done much basketball for well over a month prior to that. Okay, let me keep reading this here. It has not been a normal routine summer for him. He's a creature of habit. The way he maintains his body, for him to be out the start of the season and miss his first ever opening night, it shows an admission by him and the Lakers that he needs more time to ramp up, get into basketball shape, and he is accustomed to. He's not there yet. He's not there yet. So that's some of the stuff that Sham said. And then I think, I'm never a fan of this wording, but I know this is common in a lot of injuries. He's going to be reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks. So nothing here, at least from my opinion, is anything positive in regards to LeBron. I think the fact that he's obviously had this injury, I think the fact that it is nerve-based, that's a little worrisome right there. If anybody's ever had like a pinched nerve or something like that, not to say that we have the same injury as a NBA basketball player who's going into his 23rd season in the NBA, but how they maintain this or how they manage this is probably the best way to put it. The fact that, this is an injury that has been around now for a couple of months for him, reevaluate in 3 to 4 weeks doesn't mean he's coming back in 3 to 4 weeks. It just means they're going to reevaluate him. So we'll see what that looks like. It sounds like to me he'll miss at least 7 to 10 games, something like that. And then if he's not ready yet, then he's going to miss a little bit of more, or he'll miss, obviously some more time there. Nothing from that. Listening to Shams on Friday, and obviously I had to wait till today to kind of talk a little bit about it, but nothing from that is very encouraging. And I think for me, I think the LeBron piece, we can kind of break this down in multiple angles. And listen, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say there's some excitement to see what this Lakers team looks like without LeBron. But I'm going to tie this back to you can't accomplish anything this year if LeBron's not there and he's not healthy. But there's a little bit of an update on the LeBron injury. And I don't think we'll see what happens. But that doesn't sound, the fact that he's never missed an opener in his career, the fact that he is going into year number 23, does this kind of set the table of, I know everyone has the conversation of father time in this, and father time's undefeated. The guy, he's going into his 23rd year in the NBA. Don't tell me father time's undefeated. I mean, if there's ever a player that has crossed over father time and hit a couple fadeaways right in father time's face, it's LeBron. I mean, nobody has done what he's done and still averaging what he is averaging. But the bigger question for me is, does this kind of set the tone with LeBron for the 23rd season, for his 23rd year in the NBA? Is it going to be one of those years he's kind of in and out of the lineup? He's available, he's not available. I guess we can't be surprised if that is the case just because of his age and everything else. But I don't really like the way that article read. I'm not, the way Shams kind of interpreted, or at least the way he explained it, I'm interpreting it as, I don't know when we're going to see LeBron. So we'll have to wait on that. Now, let me go back to, I want to go back to Lakers playing without LeBron. Because, listen, I've said this before. I even said this when Anthony Davis was on the team. I always have a curiosity when LeBron's not there, how the Lakers will perform. But I specifically have a curiosity how the Lakers will perform when Luka's the head of the snake. Obviously, we haven't had too many opportunities to see, what does it look like when LeBron's not there? So let me read a quote. There was a quote Luka had in regards to not playing with LeBron. This was back on Saturday, so I'm obviously reading it today. Here's what he said in regards to not having LeBron around. Let me find it here real quick. Of course, when I need it, it's not there. Okay, so here's what he said. He said it's a big change, obviously playing without LeBron. He's a great player. He can help us a lot. But at the end of the day, our mentality needs to be next man up. We got a group of guys that have been practicing, and hopefully LeBron can join us as soon as possible. We are going to obviously need him, but our mentality has got to be the next man up. That's it. So talking a little bit about, obviously not having LeBron in the lineup. He said something else about he'll do whatever it takes in LeBron's absence. I think everybody would agree with me on this. This year is all about, not even just this year, the real chapter of the Luka Doncic era begins the moment he signed that extension with the Lakers. Forget last season. I think last season, whatever happened, however the Lakers played, eliminated in the first round, 50 games, they won 50 games. He came back from Dallas, this, that, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the real Luka Doncic. This year, you're getting one of the best players in the NBA, highly motivated, in the proper shape, and you're trying to build a team without him, or you're trying to build a team around him. I have curiosity how the Lakers play without LeBron, short term. I have curiosity what players step up in his absence. Right now, the Lakers are going through these practices and entire preseason and everything else without LeBron. So LeBron's not there. There is no, by the time they start the regular season, there is no, oh my gosh, he was a game time decision and LeBron's not here. We've been practicing with him for the last 30 days or whatever the case is. No. Luka will start the season like he started preseason and training camp and media day without LeBron in the lineup. It's either going to become more and more apparent how Lakers are dependent on LeBron, or it's going to become more and more apparent that this team can kind of survive without LeBron until he eventually comes back. Now, when I say I'm excited to see the Lakers without LeBron, let me explain to you what I mean. Well, players step up. Can Luka be an even better version of himself because he can't depend on LeBron? Does Ayton get a ton more looks because LeBron's not there and they have no choice but to feed him? Does Rui Hachimura do what everybody's hoping for, which is try to be a little bit more aggressive and kind of have more of a role offensively for the Lakers? Do other players step up that you wouldn't imagine would step up because LeBron's not there? Because if the Lakers can establish something without LeBron, then they're only going to be that much better when LeBron comes back. I mean, for all those that want to, play out all these different LeBron scenarios, which we will, because there was an article specifically written about this. For all those that want to play out all these different scenarios without LeBron, for this season alone, and you don't have to look past this season, if the Lakers are going to have the type of success that they're hoping for, there is no scenario that plays out where LeBron's not a big factor in that. So he might be out for the beginning of the season. Maybe he misses 7 games, 10 games, 15 games. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. But I think there is benefit to this team behind Luka being the type of team that they're hoping to be and playing a year where LeBron's going to be in his 23rd year in the NBA, where they almost don't expect him there every single night. I think there's a benefit to that. And then the hope is down the road, he comes back and they're only a better version of themselves because one of the greatest players to ever play the game comes back into the lineup. So there's a few ways to look at this. I'm not going to, I'd rather have LeBron in the lineup than not in the lineup. But do you really need LeBron in October and November? Do you really need LeBron this year to play 70 games? I don't think you do, nor do I think that you can ask for that. So I think there is some benefit for him not being around. And I think we're going to find out. Either the Lakers are exposed a little bit without LeBron, or they show that, hey, we're still a team because of Luka Doncic and some of these other players. We can hang with a lot of these other teams, and we're only going to be better when LeBron comes back. All right, let's take a look here. And obviously you want LeBron to come back when he's fresh, when he's ready to go, and then they'll take it from there. I want to take a look at a couple of the comments, and then I want to talk a little bit about patience with the Lakers. So we'll be able to do that. Let me take a look at some of the comments. Francis, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super. Thank you very much. Obviously, everybody knows this. You throw a super out there, it's going to get read immediately. So I appreciate you doing that. What kind of style of play do you think we're having this year? Hoping of adding Ayton, we can play inside. Also, Rui, LeBron cuts, more play inside. Okay, I'll tell you, because I think there's a little bit of it's been reported they're going to play a little bit more of a fast pace or a faster pace. So I think it will be up-tempo. But I think if you're just relying on up-tempo, obviously other teams will adjust and they'll do what they do. You got to win multiple ways. One of the ways I thought Lakers last year, what kind of killed them, they only had one style of play to win. Now, we all kind of understand this. The roster had a lot of holes. They were not going to, stop a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves in half-court sets. They were really going to struggle, it felt like. And once you give another team an opportunity, especially a team as great defensively as the Minnesota Timberwolves were, it's going to be tough to score. There were glaring holes for the Lakers that teams exposed the Lakers on. I think what you mentioned here about Ayton is a key one, because if the Lakers are able to establish, we can beat you with Luka up tempo. We could beat you off the dribble because of Austin Reeves, but we could also beat you because we got a big man down low that can also be a real asset for the Lakers. It's a big benefit. So how the Lakers win this upcoming season, how they play, if it's the one thing that I do worry about is they're not balanced enough offensively and defensively. There's too much of a focus on just the offense. I don't think you're a real team that has a real shot of making noise if you don't establish a defense. So I hope there's a defensive presence, a little bit tough, gritty with guys like Vando and Marcus Smart, throw Ayton into that mix, but also a team that can, have guys that can just blow you out of the gym, just of raw talent like Luka, like AR, and of course, like LeBron when he comes back. Francis, again, I appreciate the super here. Okay, let me take a look here at a couple more. LeBron will play 2 games and be out like 5 during this season. Can't have that happen. You can have it happen in October and November. It's not that big of a deal now, but I think we'd all agree eventually down the road, if the Lakers are going to have success, their success is with LeBron, period. And their success is not just with LeBron, but a LeBron that's 24, 6-6, 22, 7-7. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers, but eventually LeBron's numbers are going to continue to dip. And even though that hasn't happened all that often, you got to imagine it obviously starts happening at some point. Let's take a look here at another one. The Lakers can flourish without LeBron. Luka can take over with AR to augment him. Maybe they flourish early on. That's fine. We'll find out and see. We'll find out in the first 10 games if LeBron's not there. Are they 7-3 or are they 4-6? Or are they 5-5? They 6-4. Obviously we don't know the numbers. I know their schedule isn't brutal to start off with, but you're going to eventually have to have LeBron in that lineup, and you're going to have LeBron healthy if you want to make some real noise. That's just the reality of the situation. And I think if you think that the Lakers can have a tremendous amount of success without LeBron, I don't think you're paying attention to that value, or maybe you're paying too close of attention to the value that Luka brings. But Luka's going to need LeBron at some point as well. Okay, I'm going to take a look at more of your comments. I want to talk about how patient can the Lakers be. This is part of a conversation that I was having with Anthony Irwin last week, so I want to spend a little bit of time on that. Before I do so, let's give a shout out to one of our main partners here, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. One of the things that I do enjoy talking about, and every time I get a chance with Brad Wallace, I always ask him, their injury attorneys, they could represent anybody in the state of California. One of the things I enjoy doing with him is I say, can you give me some examples, things that have happened recently that I can tell listeners about? I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. About a little over a month ago, an auto insurance company made a $1.25 million offer to one of Brad's clients whose case was going to trial in Palm Springs. But after Brad Wallace selected the jury and delivered his opening statement, the insurance company decided to pay Brad's full $2 million demand before the first witness was called to the stand. That's how you execute. That's how you win. That's what the Wallace Firm does. Like I mentioned, I hope you guys never need him. I hope you never need his firm. But things happen in life. And if something happens to you or a family member, wrongful death case, a serious injury, just go to the website that we created, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Click on the link in my description is another way to get there. Get an absolute free consultation and have Brad Wallace and the team over at the Wallace Firm help you out. I got to coordinate here. I got to get back into his office here and do a podcast in there pretty soon. So I'll be doing that once we get the season started. But shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, and shout out to everybody who supports the partners that are on this channel. So thank you very much for doing so. Okay. we're talking a little bit about, how patient can the Lakers be? By the way, let me just say this. There was one thing that I read of, will LeBron look at these first 10, 15 games and see how the Lakers play? And will there be pressure on the Lakers to perform? Is LeBron watching this team and saying to himself, are they good enough? Should I request this, trade this? Anyways, whatever. I know everybody's playing hypotheticals at this point with LeBron. I will tell you this. I really don't feel like the Lakers have pressure coming from LeBron. The pressure that the Lakers have is completely on Luka's shoulders. If anybody has pressure, if the Lakers feel any pressure, it's making sure Luka's happy at this stage, not necessarily LeBron. And this isn't, a knock at LeBron or anything like that. But we all kind of know the scenario that we're in. We all know that he's 40, turning on 41. Do you want to try to appease LeBron at 40, 41 years old? Or do you want to try to appease the 26-year-old that has one of the highest odds to an MVP this upcoming season, is an international superstar, and the Lakers just got freaking lucky to get him to come join their organization because the Dallas Mavericks decided that he wasn't good enough for their organization. I'm pretty sure the pressure on the Lakers is not what LeBron thinks of the team. I think it's what Luka thinks of the team. I think we'd all agree on that. This kind of leads me into my next point. How patient will the Lakers be? There was an article on ESPN, and the article said, NBA trade guide, how 14 teams will approach the 2025-2026 season. It's kind of talking about timelines. So they talk a little bit about Boston. They talk a little bit about Golden State Warriors, kind of their closing window. Let me read to you what they said about the Lakers, because I think what they say about the Lakers is a great way of the Lakers kind of balancing right now, being patient, going all in, keeping an eye out on what's going to happen with this Giannis situation. What if Giannis and the Knicks can't get something to work out? What if Giannis is just using the Knicks as a smokescreen? What if the Bucks don't want to do a deal with New York? Do the Lakers have the proper assets? Obviously, just playing out a lot of scenarios. This article on ESPN, it says no organization exemplifies the two timelines more than the Lakers. Okay. Present roster, you got LeBron, 23-year veteran. His uncertainty as far as future goes. Besides James, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and Austin Reeves can all become free agents next summer. By the way, DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart got player options too. They could become, obviously they could become free agents this upcoming summer as well. The future is Luka Doncic, who is under contract through at least the 2027-2028 season, and financial flexibility in the next two off seasons to build a roster around the generational player. The Lakers could have up to $50 million in cap space next off season and nearly double that amount the following season. The bigger question is going to be for the Lakers, is anyone available for them? And I think that's going to be the bigger question. So this kind of takes me back to my topic here real quick. We'll spend a few minutes on this. How patient will the Lakers be? Is it safe to say that the Lakers are going to be as patient as Luka Doncic allows them to be? I mean, I know it feels like Luka's going to be here, and it feels like Luka's not going anywhere for a while. And it feels like the Lakers are obviously going to properly build around Luka and be smart. But I was having this conversation with Anthony Irwin, I mentioned from Clutch Points on Friday. And I think the thing that kind of gets forgot about a little bit here, yes, I do think the Lakers want to keep their books clean. Yes, I do think the Lakers are going to do everything they can to keep an eye out for other free agents and other players that might be available at the trade deadline, things along those lines. But do you think Luka Doncic, who's already accomplished so many things in his career, the guy's already been in the Western Conference Finals. He's already been to the NBA Finals. He gets basically told he's not good enough to be in Dallas. He's not in shape. He's not motivated. He's this, that, comes to the Lakers. Do you think, from a patience perspective, do you think Luka is patient right now? Is patient at this stage of his career? Do you think he wants to wait 3 years to try to compete for an NBA championship? I don't think he does. That's why this is kind of so fascinating, and that article is fascinating. I think even if the Lakers want to be patient because it's the smart thing to do, I think there's always going to be this pressure that maybe before used to be LeBron kind of igniting that pressure. It's a much different set of pressure now. Now it's not a 40-year-old that you're worried about. It's a 26-year-old in his prime who's already accomplished, a ton so far in the NBA. And I'm sure one of his individual goals will be to try to be MVP in these next couple of seasons. But more importantly, get to the NBA Finals and try to be a Finals MVP. So how patient will the Lakers be? I really actually think is all dependent on how patient will Luka let them be. And if there is a plan, if there is hey, pump the brakes here, trust us, we're working on something that's going to help your odds of winning an NBA championship as a Laker, or does he lose a little bit of his patience or lose a little bit of his faith in regards to that? Is like, get me players now. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think that's going to be a scenario that's played out based on LeBron, what LeBron wants. It's going to be based on what Luka wants. Okay, we'll let's see what we got here. Let's take a look at some of these here and go from there. Luka's trusting the new ownership group. I promise you that. Yeah, listen, it's fair that there's a little bit of, okay, well, you got this organization. Now, here's the only thing I will just say about new ownership coming in. Their resume is incredible of obviously what they've done with the Dodgers. But you cannot compare baseball and basketball. I mean, the structure is so much different. Now, what you can say is, does new ownership have the ability to go get the best people in the front office without a salary cap? They do. Do they have the ability to go get the best scouts in the world without a salary cap? They do. And I do think that is very, very important. No question about it. But what they can't do is, well, we'll just, if the going rate for Giannis is 50, we'll pay 70. That's just not how the NBA works. Major League Baseball and the NBA are wildly different from that perspective. But where new ownership can be a real asset to the Lakers organization, clean up the top. And by the way, a lot of very successful organizations are because of the top. And a lot of organizations or NBA franchises or Major League Baseball franchises have no shot because of the top. So I'm not telling you that they can't clean up a lot. They can, but it's not apples to apples when you compare baseball and Major League Baseball to the NBA and obviously basketball. There are a lot of differences, but there are ways that they can really clean up the Lakers from that perspective. Okay, let's take a look here at a couple more here. Let's see. How long until LeBron demands a trade? I got something that I'll play out here, so I'll come back to that because I do think there's something interesting in regards to LeBron. I want to get your guys' opinion on it as well. We even have optionality with AR and Rui, or if we want to side and trade them with picks to upgrade. And I know some people get annoyed with it every time you talk Lakers basketball, and the word that Pelinka uses all the time is flexibility. And I get it. I understand why that could be annoying. But it is a key kind of component into building the type of roster that you want. You're not stuck in one way. You don't have one path for success. So I think having that flexibility actually does mean a lot. Let me take a look at a few more comments here as we keep going here. We understand our deficiencies as a team. And you can't build a contender overnight. The important thing is building championship habits in this Luka era, Slee. By the way, that piece of it that you just said, the Luka era, that's the piece that I think everyone's just paying attention to. What's the Luka era look like? And I think that is clearly the most exciting piece of this, is because now you're doing something under a completely different regime that's on the court in regards to what Luka will bring to the table. Okay. Did you guys see this article? I am going to try to see I'm going to be curious here to get everybody's thoughts and opinions on this. There was an article from Dave McMenamin, and it's listing out the scenarios for LeBron. And the question I'm going to ask you guys is which scenario you want to see happen and which scenario do you think is most likely to happen? So let me share my screen here real quick with everybody so you guys can see this. Basically, he lays out there are four ways the NBA season could play out for LeBron and the Lakers. So let's kind of take a look at this together, and we'll kind of play out what's most likely and then what we want to see happen. Okay, here are the scenarios. That LeBron plays out the 2025-2026 season and retires as a Laker after this year. That's scenario number one. Okay, let's keep going down here. Scenario number two. Plays out this season and re-ups with the Lakers on a new deal. Okay, that's scenario number two. That one I'm sure has a lot of questions for everybody. Scenario number three. Start this season with the Lakers and request a trade or buyout in January or February. So season starts, maybe LeBron's not feeling the way the Lakers are playing and says, I want to get out of here. I want to go to Cleveland. I want to go to New York. I want to go to one of these other teams. So starts the season with the Lakers, requests a trade. That's scenario number three. And then the last scenario that I'm going to put on here, scenario number four, plays out the season with the Lakers and signs elsewhere as a free agent. So these are the four different possibilities with the Lakers. And I'm going to, ask you guys to kind of chime in on this one and just give me your opinion, your thoughts of which one you want to happen most and which one do you think is going to happen. Let me tell you where I lean most, okay? Scenario number one is kind of one of those, he's a Laker, he's here for 8 years, did everything he could, played 23 seasons in the NBA, keys already handed to the next superstar, says thank you to everybody, and hopefully there's, a good percentage of Laker fans are appreciative of LeBron and what he did with the Lakers, won a championship in 2020, made the franchise relevant again. For those that always go after LeBron, I always try to remind them, go see what the Lakers were before LeBron got here. He saved the franchise. And when I say save the franchise, maybe eventually a star was going to come, but they weren't lining up. And clearly for the Lakers, they were in a 5 years in a row, not making the play, 6 years, whatever it was. LeBron definitely had a tremendous impact in getting the Lakers relevant again. That could be maybe a storybook ending. This, to me, I lean most towards. Unless, in scenario number two, LeBron decides, hey, I'm okay with signing a new deal. The roster is looking better. I'm not trying to come in here and take up $55 million of cap space or $50 million of cap space or any of that stuff. The Lakers have a good enough roster to compete for a championship. Go spend that money on other players and just let me be kind of a contributor here. And I want to try to win one more NBA championship. And maybe at that point, LeBron's the third best player on the team. That's like the storybook perfect ending. I don't know if it's realistic. I don't know if it's reality. The scenario that I care least about is LeBron asking for a trade or a buyout. I mean, listen, if he wants to ask for a trade, then the Lakers could go try to get the assets that they need. I don't know why the Lakers would ever give him a buyout. That makes no sense for the Lakers. I think this is the least likely to happen of all the scenarios out there. And then the fourth one of him just kind of saying at the end of this year, all right, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to go sign somewhere else. It's like, all right, if you want to go sign somewhere else, then it is what it is. Nothing you could really do about that. If I had to guess, for me personally, I think scenario one is most likely. I would love scenario two, but only if it's a 1-year deal and it's at very, very minimum of the salary cap because the Lakers went out and got another star and he's trying to kind of almost like what he would do with the Cleveland Cavaliers or the New York Knicks. I just want to come on a team to try to compete for an NBA championship. So those were the four scenarios that were out there. That's what they listed out. let's see what let's take a quick look here and see what some of our people are saying in regards to what they think is most likely or what they want to see happen. All right, let me try to go back here. Luka going to trade LeBron. Doesn't have that. It doesn't have that much power. I mean, that's going to be up to LeBron. Okay, let me look here. I want to try to see if I can get up. It will be number 4. So Brian says the scenario that's going to play out is he plays this season and signs somewhere else as a free agent. I got Gary here that says he asked for a buyout or a trade in February. Guys, that's the one I really think least likely happens. Why would the Lakers just buy him out? What's the point of doing that? There's just nothing that benefits the Lakers in that scenario. Now, if he really, really wants out, they could try to trade him. And do I think that's going to happen? I don't. I don't think that's going to happen. All right, here's somebody chiming in on the bubble ring. Bubble ring for all assets that were passed away, maybe preventing a Giannis from coming to LA. I would have been fine with it. Guys, if you don't think the Lakers were good enough to win a championship in 2020, I don't know what to tell you. I always tell people, go look at that roster in 2020. It was top 3 team in the NBA. Milwaukee, the Clippers, and the Lakers. Those were the 3 best teams in the NBA. They won an NBA championship. They had stars everywhere, vets everywhere, young pieces. They had everything. So I don't really pay too much attention to that, but I do think he did change the franchise around. No question about that. I thought Austin was a star. No. If Austin Reeves is the second best player on your team, you're not winning a championship. Let's just put it that way. I'm praying for option number 2. Option number 2, like we talked about, would be he signs a new deal with the Lakers and hopefully at a much more discounted rate because he just wants to stick around to try to win an NBA championship. I think that's going to be tough to convince LeBron James, a player of that magnitude, a player that brings so much to the table and so much revenue to the team that, obviously, to not go get his fair share of the pie. So I don't think that's always going to be, I think that's a tough one to play out. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Kind of coming a little bit closer here to the end of the show, but I still got a few other topics that I want to get into. I appreciate everybody chiming in. Let's see what we got here. Sleeve, James becomes too much of a problem. Lakers could just send him home with pay. I don't think it's going to happen, guys. And by the way, when people say he's going to become a problem, tell me where he's been a problem. Like what do we think is a problem? Has he tried to assert his power on teams that he's been on? Sure, but that's because he wants to win. I don't blame him for that. Did you guys ever have an issue with him when he was in Cleveland where he basically told ownership, I'm going to sign a 1+1 every year, and I'm going to have that threat looming that if you don't make this roster championship contender worth, then I'll just go somewhere else. I don't mind that. I don't mind that pressure that he was putting on the franchise. I don't mind it at all. I saw this today as well. NBA roster tiers ranking top trios for all 30 NBA teams. Lakers are so far down this list. Number 1 is the Thunder. Number 2 is Denver. Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray. Number 3 is the Cavaliers. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley. Number 4, the Knicks. Number 5, the Hawks. Number 6, the Pistons. Number 7, the Houston Rockets. Keep going down that list. Lakers are all the way down. I think were they tier 5, tier 6? Where were they? Tier 6. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. That just tells you that, a lot of the NBA is not crazy about that trio, which I get it. I understand it. Again, you got somebody who's going to be 41. Austin Reeves has his deficiencies. Excellent on one side of the floor, a problem on the other side. And then Luka, who's one of the top players in the NBA. So I guess I'm not too surprised by this, but they got a lot of they got a lot. Golden State, Clippers, and Lakers are all kind of bunched together in one of their own tiers. So it just kind of shows you how people feel about that specific trio for the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, let me share a couple of things here I got on the NBA thank you everybody for being here. Like I said, please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. I appreciate everybody with the views right now. Even in preseason, pretty much every video I put out, it will get 3, 4, 5,000 views, whatever the case is. So I really appreciate that. I know once we get to the regular season, the topics and the conversations will only be they'll only be more interesting and they'll be fun to do. A couple of things on the NBA that I want to hit on. I'll do the weekend recap and then we'll call it a Monday here. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Let me find this. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was on. Let me go to Hoops Hype here real quick so I can read the exact piece of this. Russell Westbrook not entertaining overseas offers. So, one of the names that's still out there, and maybe it's becoming more and more likely that Russell Westbrook won't find a team. I don't know. Or maybe it's, one of those scenarios where once the season starts, teams will look at some of their deficiencies and say, you know what, let's take the chance and bring in Russell Westbrook. There has been zero discussion to date about him. This is Mark Stein on his Substack, about him weighing interest to play abroad this season. League sources say he'd naturally generate a slew of overseas offers if he was open to them, but I'm told that securing his NBA opportunity has been the focus for Westbrook's camp, even if that means, as it increasingly appears, options fail to materialize until after the 2025-26 regular season starts on October 21st. So as of right now, it looks like Russell Westbrook not only does not have a home, may not have a home, and is not about to play overseas. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. I saw this, for those who didn't see it, on Friday. The NBA is back in China after a 6-year absence. You had a preseason game out there. I think a lot of this also has to do, I was reading the article, the Suns and the Nets played out there. Lakers got the Suns coming up tomorrow. New Mavericks owner Patrick Dumont is poised to be promoted in March 2026 to chairman and CEO of Las Vegas Sands Corp, which owns Venetian Arena. Dumont, who sat beside Chinese legend Yao Ming at Sunday's game, I guess they played yesterday as well, has been among the leading forces in restoring the league's business relationships with China, sources say. As a result, they already being lined up to play 2 preseason games there next October. So NBA is back in China. So business as usual. We know, obviously that has not been the case here for years. So it's back in China and they've played 2 games there. I know they played on Friday. Maybe they played yesterday as well. So something to keep in mind. Okay, let's do the weekend recap. If you guys have any comments or thoughts on anything that we've hit on, feel free to put the comments in. Before I get out of the show, I will make sure to look at some of those comments. Weekend recap is presented by Brad Wallace, the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Okay, over the weekend. Damn, how long ago does this seem? Let's start with Major League Baseball. Were you guys watching Friday night's game 5 between the Tigers and the Mariners? I kept saying it was, by far the best series in that second round there. What a series. Goes 15 innings. Mariners finally win the game 3-2. I mean, look how even the game was. 8 hits to 8 hits. Mariners and the Tigers, 3-2 the final score. Some big-time performances, some big-time moments, some unbelievable pitching. So we got to go all the way back to Friday to recap that series. But Tigers and the Mariners. Saturday, there was, obviously a game between another game 5 between the Cubs and the Brewers. Brewers took the first 2. Cubs took the next 2. Brewers end up winning 3-1, which sets the table now. And now, obviously, everything is set in Major League Baseball, even though we already have Game 1 in the ALCS. But Cubs and the Brewers move on. Yesterday, it was Mariners and the Blue Jays. Blue Jays scored on the first pitch of the game. George Springer hits a solo shot, and at least the first pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays. They didn't score again. They only got one more hit after that. And the Mariners win 3-1. So in the ALCS, the Mariners already still home field after the first game. Blue Jays are behind. They were putting up so many runs against the New York Yankees, and then all of a sudden they play Seattle. They get 1 run off 2 hits. The first pitch thrown to the Toronto Blue Jays was a solo shot. They didn't get another run the rest of the game, so pretty unbelievable. That sets us up for today. Today, 2 games, of course. Game 2 of the ALCS, Game 1 of the NLCS. Mariners, Blue Jays. That's coming up at 2 o'clock. So if you guys want some baseball in the afternoon, you're going to get it. And then the Dodgers travel to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. Should be a good series. I always, I got a difficult time, to be honest with you, giving any team too much hope against the Dodgers. I just think that, especially as these series start moving along, you play a 3-game set, 5-game set, a 7-game set. The further it goes, the more it's going to be an advantage for the Dodgers. That game's at 5. I know the Brewers did very, very well against them during the regular season. I don't think that means jack squat once you get to this point. They just got too much talent. So we'll see what happens, but it's the Dodgers and the Brewers going up against each other on at 5 o'clock today. For those who don't know, I did see this. There was an article that came out. Let's see if I could get this for you guys. Technically, Shohei Ohtani was going to pitch a Game 5 if it got to a Game 5 against the Philadelphia Phillies, but it doesn't translate into Game 1. They're going to go Blake Snell in Game 1. They're going to go Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Game 2. And then Shohei Ohtani looks like we'll just get 1 start this series against the Milwaukee Brewers. So I guess that's going to depend on how long the series goes. I got a difficult time thinking if this series goes long, and let's say he pitched Game 3, that he wouldn't be available for Game 6 or a Game 7, even if it's coming out of the bullpen. But I got a difficult time thinking Shohei's only going to pitch once. So that's coming up at 5 o'clock today. All right, NFL here real quick. Let me just quick little recap on the NFL for those that were watching some of the games yesterday. 2 games on tonight. Bills and the Falcons will go at it. Bears and the Commanders will go at it. So you get 2 NFL football games tonight, 2 baseball games on tonight. I mean, what more can you possibly ask for? Okay, let me just give everyone a quick idea, just some of the games out there that I thought were a little bit more significant. Seahawks beat the Jaguars. Both of those teams are now 4-2. Rams go to Baltimore. They win 17-3. Ravens are just awful. Ravens had the ball, I think, at the 1-yard line for 3 straight runs to end the first half. Couldn't score. And then Rams came out, touchdown. They end up blowing that game open. Let's get a couple more in here. 49ers just depleted, more injuries. Buccaneers beat them 30-19. The Bucs are 5-1. And then yesterday, a pretty good game. Chiefs and the Lions, 30-17, the final score. Lions 4-2. Chiefs 3-3. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. And then the last thing I'm going to mention here, and then I'll take a look at a couple of the comments, and we're going to call it a day. College football. Top 5 teams in college football. I was watching some pretty good games over the weekend. I was watching Indiana, Oregon. That was a phenomenal game. Some pretty good games over the course of Saturday night. Ohio State, number 1. Miami, number 2. Indiana, number 3 in the country. Number 4, Texas A&M. Number 5, Ole Miss. Oregon drops to number 8. USC with a win against Michigan, blew out Michigan, dominated them, number 20. So that gives you just a little bit of an idea of the top 25. Okay, let me take a look at a couple of the comments, and we're going to call it a day. Appreciate you guys being a part of the recap here as we continue to – did I have the wrong one on? I had the wrong one on. I had the wrong one on. As we continue to talk about everything going on. Let's see what we got here. Milwaukee isn't number 1 in NFL for no reason, but they haven't faced pitching the likes of LA Stars yet. Yeah, listen, I don't know. I don't know what you guys want me to tell you. Like, at the end of the day, in the playoffs, talent wins. And when you have as much talent as the Dodgers do, it's not guaranteed. We've seen, we've seen it happen where very talented teams. I was reading an article from ESPN this morning, and it's basically saying how the Brewers and the Dodgers, how this matchup will dictate. It could be very important towards what the potential lockout's going to be after the 2026 season, because you got one of the smaller markets in Major League Baseball having success, which with one of the biggest markets in Major League Baseball with its payroll and everything else that it has. Can the Brewers beat the Dodgers? Yes. Am I putting money on the Brewers beating the Dodgers? I'm not. They're going to be the clear favorite of the final four teams that are available. And you're right. The starters for the Dodgers, they're stacked. Let's see what we got here. Dodgers true test come today. I do know that they did go 0-6 during the regular season. You think the Brewers are saying to themselves, we're going to beat them because we went 6-0 against them? I don't think that's going to be. When the playoffs started, 0-0. Blue Jays couldn't find their offense, not at all. Yeah, that portion was bad. Green Light, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Would you like for LeBron to ask front office to be traded? No. By the way, play out this season. I'm going to go back to what I've been saying this entire time. Just play out this season, and then everyone can make a determination after that. Lakers went out there and obviously added some pieces in the offseason. They addressed some of the needs that they had, and now it's a matter of seeing what this team can do. So I think we're all kind of curious in regards to that. Let's see. Some people just not a fan of certain players in the league. Been a great MLB postseason so far. I agree with you. You know, I'm going to need a second on this Mariners-Toronto series. I don't know. It didn't hit me yesterday. Where the Mariners-Tigers series, every pitch I was locked in. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. All right, my people, I think we're done. I think we got everything we need here. I think we're all set. I appreciate everybody joining the show today. I appreciate all the comments on the show today. Looking forward to getting some more reaction to Laker games all week. Got 4 of them total, 1 already in the books. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll do a post-game show tomorrow night. Same thing on Wednesday. Got a little we're definitely back in the swing this week. It gets me back to realizing that we're going to have to roll up our sleeves. We got a lot of shows going on this week. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys doing it. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.